Yeah, it's a great time of year to be playing basketball. Excited to go to Madison Square Garden and face a tremendous Duke team. Obviously, Coach Shire's done awesome work with his group. He's got a young group and he's got experience. He's blended it well. They got one of the best players in the country, and the way they compete is just to have a lot of respect for how they compete. So, looking forward to a great opportunity to play a great team.
Coach, after, I guess, looking over the Northern Colorado game, what have you learned from it? I guess defensively, obviously, you were frustrated, and how do you think the guys responded in practice to that?
Yeah, well, we had a good practice today. The ownership in regards to our team, I think we're growing in that area. It was obvious that we had some significant breakdowns. And that's where, as a coach, got to start deciding if those breakdowns become so consistent that you need to change personnel and give other guys a try. And I thought we've tried to build this ramp up knowing that we've had, limited time and trying to go from game to game. And some of it's game planning and some of it's practice habits. And we've seen positive results from our practices. And so I was a little shocked in regards to what we saw against Northern Colorado and some of the breakdowns. And some of it was effort. And that's where we're not going to tolerate it. So felt like effort was better communication. We just got to keep making improvements. This team's got the right pieces. We just got to make sure that we're playing with an edge.
You mentioned some of the young talent there. The obvious one is Boozer. How do you handle a guy that's leading the nation in point? I know that's a loaded question. Points per game and top 10 in rebounds.
Yeah, obviously Boozer's not only a great talent, he's just a competitor. You can tell he's a winner. I mean, look at the end of the Arkansas game as a common opponent that we both played, and he just took the Arkansas game over down the stretch and ended up with 30-whatever points. And just that's what I respect about him. I mean, you can tell, like everybody, you ebb and flow through trying to figure out what your role is going to be and how you're going to score and how you're going to defend. But it feels like when the game's on the line, he brings a competitive edge to their team that separates him as a competitor.
Coach, I know there's a lot of season left to go, but this is really your last major opportunity in the non-conference to grab a big win. I know you guys have been really close in a couple of games. How important is this game going to be for your team just moving forward and trying to get a big non-conference win to add that to your resume?
Yeah, well, I think we've fluctuated between 4 and 5 quad one games up to this point. And depending on who plays, just depends on what those are going to end up like. And that's what we wanted with this group, was to be challenged. We've returned some great players, and we need some new guys to continue to improve. And these games expose you in a way that help you. And I know for us to have these kind of games is great, but our intent isn't to play in them. Our intent is to win them. And this group is continuing to grow, and this will be nothing different than how do we get our best effort in this one. And it doesn't matter if we're playing Northern Colorado or Duke. I mean, we should go out and compete and do everything we can to help our team win. So when people start to say the significance of it, I think the significance is, we're traveling and we're playing in a new road environment that this group has not played in. And how do we handle a hostile crowd? Because I'm sure there'll be plenty of Duke fans in the building, and we've played on the road enough, and that's what we're going to have to do in league play. Travel, prepare yourself, play a great team on the road, and scrap and find a way to win. And so that'll be the message to this group, and that's what we'll step onto the floor on Saturday night with that approach. What I'll tell you is guys are starting to, when your team starts to hold each other accountable, it looks different. It's one thing for it to be our voices as coaches communicating the instruction and the edge that needs to be played with. It's another thing when you hear the guys start to implore each other and communicate more in regards to what specifically needs to be different and that they need each other in order to be successful. And I'm telling you, I've heard JT and Christian communicate more in the last couple of weeks than I've heard them in 2 years, which to me has a sign of positive direction. And it's not always telling somebody else they're doing something. A lot of it is like, hey, I've got to do better in this. So then the guys hear both versions of it. Hey, there's self-accountability for I've got to be better in this, and then hey, it's not condescending in the way they're doing it. It's actually like, hey, we need you to be better. And so I just appreciate that, and I do think we're making some steps in the right direction. And anytime you have limited numbers, it's always going to be an up and down deal. I mean, honestly, it's practices don't have when you have 15 guys that can go compete against each other, then you can get an edge all practice long. Sometimes when you have, 9, 10 guys playing against each other because of numbers, you got to figure out how to keep practice at a competitive rate. And I'll tell you that we're moving in the right direction with this group.
You kind of even said before the season started you knew defense was going to kind of be a thing all year. Is it, and I know practice guys missing out, that kind of plays a pretty big role in it, but is it at a point where even you're kind of surprised where you're at in that area, or is it something that maybe you didn't anticipate just with the bodies that you have available?
No, if you look across college basketball, the teams that have more length and athleticism have better defensive teams. And I've been friends with Dusty May at Michigan for a long time. He's one of my great friends from having been in the league against him and having to play against him for several years, and know their staff. Obviously, they got a tremendous staff, and they're the number one defense in the country right now, and they've got great length and size, and they're playing 3 big guys at a lot of spots. And then they have great experience returning at guarding the ball. And so, that combination. So I think I'm not shocked with the lack of ability because we're missing Mariel and Luke, which I felt like would be our backup rim protection and would give us help. And in those games where we've had success on the floor, Luke's played. And when we've been bad defensively, it's been smaller lineups with kind of what we're playing with right now. So, I mean, honestly, I know this group needs to make strides. We got to make significant ones. But am I surprised with this? I wouldn't say surprised. I would just say I am concerned about some individuals' lack of improvement, and not the improvement that I see in practices, but the dip that I see when we get to some games. But also we've had to play guys extended minutes, and that's where I'll take ownership to this. I've got to do a better job of keeping guys out there where they don't lose attention because of fatigue. And that part of it, we're just leaving some guys out there because of offense. And that's where my job as coach is to hold people accountable to the standard that we want to play out. And when that's not met, we've got to, when effort is not being met, then we've got to change. It's not the scheme, it's personnel. We got to change personnel in those moments. And that's where I've got to do a better job of getting guys out there and trying to find a good balance where we can keep a good offensive team out there, but also get stops where we can and win a game, a real game.
But then in terms of those minutes, if you're already saying you're probably not going to have Luke, Mariel's still out, is this a JT might have to play 40 minutes again sort of thing, or what is kind of the plan? Go forward rotation.
Yeah, I mean we're looking at a lot of different things right now. I can't give you a specific answer because that would help Duke, but just more than anything, we're trying to make sure that the effort's what it needs to be. And if we get that, then I feel confident in our group that we can find a way.
Coach, as you look at Duke defensively, how much does the game, as you look at the offensive performance on the games against the other Power 4 opponents, how much does that performance affect what you plan to send out on the court offensively as kind of a point of attack to try to see that they don't limit as much points as they've been known to limit their opponents all season long?
Yeah, Duke's awesome defensively. They've got a great plan. They got great effort. And, I've coached a couple of those guys on the team that are playing with USA Basketball, and those guys are awesome, man. That's what I love about college basketball is, man, I just feel like it's competitive. They're great basketball teams, and they're great people involved. And anytime you're playing against a great defense, I mean, you can't just have one version of yourself, and that's where I do like our team. I think we're a versatile group. We can score inside and out. We can put you in ball screens. We can put you in the post. We got different guys that can do it, and I don't think we've even played our best basketball there. So I know there's some disappointment disappointment with things that are going on with our team defensively, but we got a lot of bright spots too. And we got guys that I believe in and I believe can get there. I do think that there's ebbs and flows of this where everybody's under a microscope and every possession gets scrutinized, and I do think our guys feel that. And so my goal going into this game, and you know this, is how do you give your guys confidence in playing this game, period. I mean, you walk out of this thing feeling a lot of different ways, but I know this, we're going to challenge them every day in practice to compete, and then we're going to give a lot of confidence to them knowing that this is how we're going to play the game, and then let it rip. See what you got. And that's what's fun about playing this game is you do get to go compete, and it's who plays well for those 40 minutes, just like Northern Colorado came in here and battled us for 40 minutes. But it is ultimately who wins the game. And our guys have found ways to win, and then we found ways to get ourselves in position and not win. And now it's time to get over the hump.
We didn't have a chance to ask you after the game, what does a game like the one Lawan had help him, maybe even on the defensive end, be so productive, offensively? How does that help him moving forward? Because we knew he could score, but to do that, I'm sure probably gives him a little more energy for the entire game.
Yeah, Wes likes to remind me of meaningless stats and he said, if Lawan wouldn't have taken that three, he would have had the record for the, most baskets made without a miss. And I told him I don't care, but I appreciated his input. But, I'll tell you about Lawan's offensive success. I think it's tied completely not to having a great game plan and him going out and execute it. That's part of it. But I'll tell you what he's done that people don't know is he's been doing individual defensive workouts every day that we practice for like 2 weeks. He hadn't been doing offensive individual skill. So the offensive individual skill that he's not been doing led to one of the best performances that we've had as a Red Raider. That just goes to show you that it's not necessarily, it's your heart being about how do I help this team win. And that's what I'll give Lawan credit for. He actually has made some pretty significant strides defensively in the last 2 weeks. And it doesn't always show up in games, but his intent is right. And he's looking at our team right. And he's communicating in a way that says, I want to win more than I want to play good. And I'm willing to do whatever, and everybody sees it. So then I think where these guys feel a pressure is I need to go out and play good offensively so I can improve my draft stock. I need to go out and be great offensively so I can score. And if you have that mentality, you're going to suck. I'll tell you. And to me, what allows people to play their best basketballs when they're just obsessed and consumed with how do we win this basketball game and what do I got to do to help our team. And then when you play it that way, you take yourself out of the equation and you see the needs of the team, and you're a better giver and you're a better teammate and you're a better basketball player. And that's my heart for this group, is that, and that's what Lawan has done the last couple of weeks. That's why if you keep doing that, he'll have the best offensive games of his career, and he won't even be thinking about offense. He'll be thinking about everything else that helps the team. And because he did that, where I was the most impressed with him is he didn't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, you go look back at his history, he's turned the ball over a lot. And he didn't turn the ball over very much in that game. And he made the right play, and he did it over and over again. It wasn't a ton of flash. It was actually it was pretty simple basketball. And that's the thing you got to really, really pour your heart into. And that's what we're missing with a few guys. And they'll get it eventually, but sometimes you got to go through hard times to get there. And I know everybody wants us to win every game by 50, and it sounds good till you get a part of a team and you see the pull on these guys. And what you try to do is you try to encourage them to give everything you have to this team, and that'll give you the best chance to play the way you want to. And until you can really trust that, you're going to have difficult days, and then when you don't, you're going to have disappointment, and it's going to impact the way you play defensively, and you're not going to be able to play in a game. You're actually going to get moved so far down the bench that you're going to wish that you even got a second. And that's where I'll give Lawan credit. His heart has totally been in how do I help this team get better defensively. And that's allowed him, I think, to have one of the best basketball games he's ever played offensively.